I never thought I would see my husband, Ryan Carter, lying on surveillance video in my bedroom with my best friend's husband, Daniel Miller. I stared at the phone screen, my fingers feeling cold. In the picture, the two men were cuddling up on the Egyptian long staple cotton sheets I had ordered for $8,000, as intimately as if they had been together for a long time. Ryan's shirt was unbuttoned, and Daniel's hand was on his chest. The two of them were whispering something, and the sound came through the baby monitor's microphone, clear and piercing. Here's the thing. I am 3 months pregnant and my morning sickness has just improved, but Ryan insists on installing a new smart home system at home, saying for the safety of the baby. When he hired someone to install it, I was holding the toilet in the bathroom and vomiting, and I didn't care at all. After the system was installed, he gave me this app, saying that I could check the situation at home at any time. I thought he was considerate at the time. After all, I often worked overtime until very late, so I felt at ease when I could see the peace and quiet at home. Tonight, I just wanted to see how the nursery was doing. Ryan said he would bring a designer to take measurements today, which I am looking forward to. I opened the app, clicked on the bedroom camera because the baby's room is next to the master bedroom. The camera angle was just right and then I saw them. Ryan's back was to the camera, but I recognized the back of his head and the mole on his left shoulder. Daniel faced the camera, and the gentle and reliable lawyer's face that I had seen at countless barbecue parties was pressed against Ryan's forehead. When the child is born, we can start our family. Daniel's voice was very soft, as if he was telling a long-awaited secret. I know. Ryan's voice was muffled, as if buried in the crook of Daniel's neck. It's almost there are still 6 months. Then Daniel smiled, that smile I had seen before. When he said his vows at his wedding to Sophie, it was this smile. Emily is such a perfect vehicle, he said. Carrier. The word exploded in my head. I put down the phone, my hands shaking. I looked down at my slightly swollen belly, where my baby was. No, it's our children. It's Ryan and my baby. Is it right? I don't know how long I sat in the bathroom. I only remember that when I got up, my legs were numb and my face in the mirror was pale. I washed my face, took a deep breath, and walked out of the bathroom. The phone screen has gone dark. I didn't click on it again. I returned to the living room, sat on the sofa, and stared at the wedding photo of me and Ryan on the opposite wall. In the photo, he smiles so sincerely and affectionately. Everyone says he is the most perfect man I have ever seen. He indeed is. From the first day we met, he was too perfect to be true. Now I know why. It took me about 20 minutes to calm down. Not calm, but cool. I am a financial analyst by profession, and my daily job is to look for anomalies, patterns, and transactions that should not exist in a pile of data. I'm good at this. So, I didn't rush to smash the door, I didn't rush in and scream, I didn't call Sophie to cry. I closed the app, went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, sat at the dining table, and started to reminisce. Ryan Carter, graduated from Stanford Business School and CEO of a technology startup company, is 34 years old, 188 meters tall, with brown hair, blue eyes, and fine lines at the corners of his eyes when he smiles. We met at an alumni reunion and he said he fell in love with me at first sight. I was 23 years old at the time. I had just graduated from New York University's Department of Finance and was working as an analyst in an investment bank. I worked 14 hours a day and had no time for a relationship. But he was very patient and chased me for 8 months. He sent me flowers every day, picked me up from get off work every day, and brought me coffee every night when I was working overtime. All my friends say that if you miss this man, you will be the biggest fool in the world, including Sophie. Sophie Miller, my best friend and roommate since college. She has great social skills, has 500,000 followers on Instagram, and her daily life looks glamorous. I was the maid of honor at her wedding to Daniel, and during my speech I said that Sophie was the most genuine person I had ever met. The most genuine person. I'm starting to doubt everything now. I took out my laptop and opened my personal folder. I have a habit of archiving all important emails, chat history, and photos. I have had this habit since college, because people in the financial industry know that records are evidence. I started searching for Ryan Carter. Who invited me to the alumni gathering in college? It's Sophie. She said there was an alumni gathering and asked me to accompany her. I had just come out of a bad relationship and didn't want to see anyone, but she forced me to go. She said, "You have to come out for some air. There's no point staying in the dormitory all day." That day at the party I met Ryan for the first time. He said that he was 2 years ahead of me, majored in computer science, and was now working on an entrepreneurial project. He was talkative, funny, and listened to me very attentively. When the show was over, he asked me for my phone number. I dug out the chat history with Sophie from 8 years ago. "What do you think of that Ryan?" Sophie asked me. "It's okay, he's quite handsome. He seems to be interested in you. I don't really want to fall in love. The one last time hurt me so much." "Don't be silly, Ryan is different, he's really good." I stared at this line of text for a long time. At the time I thought Sophie just cared about me and wanted to cheer me up. But now, it sounds like a sales pitch. I continue to turn. Sophie spent the next few months creating opportunities. She invited me to dinner and Ryan just happened to be at the same restaurant. She asked me to watch a movie and Ryan just happened to sit next to her. She organized a weekend barbecue and Ryan just happened to be free. Every time, Sophie was the one pulling the strings. I thought she was the best bestie in the world at the time, and now I feel like a carefully groomed guinea pig. Then I looked up Daniel. Daniel Miller graduated from Yale Law School and is now a partner at a mid-sized law firm in New York. He came on the scene 2 years after Ryan. Sophie met him at a party, fell madly in love with him, and were engaged within 3 months. I thought it was too soon, but Sophie said, "When you meet the right person, you know it." Looking back now, Daniel and Ryan already knew each other at that time. The tacit understanding when they met, I thought it was the friendship between men, but in fact, it was the tacit understanding between lovers. I closed the computer and my hands started shaking again. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Ryan came back. His shirt was rebut-toned and his hair was done, but I noticed his lips were redder than usual. He walked into the living room and was stunned for a moment when he saw me sitting on the sofa. "Baby, why aren't you asleep yet?" He came over, bent down, and kissed my forehead. His lips were warm and smelled of an unfamiliar perfume. It wasn't his perfume, and it wasn't Daniel's. I knew the one Daniel wore, a birthday present from Sophie. "This is another one, woodier, more intense." "Can't sleep," I said. My voice was calm, so calm that even I was surprised. "Would you like me to give you a warm glass of milk?" he asked. "Okay." He went to the kitchen and I heard the sound of the refrigerator door opening, milk being poured into a cup, and the microwave starting. I used to feel warm about these sounds, but now I just feel sick. He came back with the milk, sat next to me, and handed me the cup. "Are you feeling unwell today? The doctor said you should rest more in the first 3 months. It's okay." I took the cup but didn't drink it. "How was your conversation with the designer today?" "Very good. He has already made a preliminary plan, and I will send it to you tomorrow. I plan to use light blue for the baby's room. What do you think?" "The light blue is nice." He smiled and reached out to touch my hair. "Are you under too much pressure lately? Do you want me to go out for a walk with you?" "No need. By the way, I have good news to tell you." He looked a little excited. "I am going to transfer part of the company's shares to your name. About 15%. In this way, you will also be a shareholder, and everything in the future will be guaranteed." If it were yesterday, I might have been moved to tears. But now, I just looked at him, looking at his blue eyes, which I thought were the most sincere eyes in the world. "Why do you do this suddenly?" I asked. "Because you are my wife and the mother of my children. I want you to know how much I care about you." He held my hand. "Emily, I really love you." When he said this, his expression and tone were impeccable. If I hadn't seen that piece of surveillance, I would have believed him. I will feel that I am the luckiest woman in the world, with such a perfect husband, such a perfect marriage, and such a perfect future. But now, I just feel cold. "Thank you, Ryan," I said, and took a sip of milk. The milk was warm, but when I swallowed it, it felt like I had swallowed a piece of ice in my throat. The next day, I went to see my obstetrician. Not the usual one, but another one. Through my company's insurance network, I found a clinic far away from home, a 40-minute drive away. I didn't want Ryan to know. The doctor is a woman in her 50s, surnamed Patel, who looks experienced. She gave me a routine checkup and said the child was healthy and developing normally. I hesitated for a moment, and then asked her, "Doctor, what will happen if I have psychological problems after delivery, such as postpartum depression?" Dr. Patel took one look at me and took off his glasses. "Are you worried about this?" "Just wondering. Postpartum depression is very common, and about 1 in 7 new mothers will experience it. If symptoms occur, we will generally recommend psychological treatment, combined with medication if necessary. But if the situation is serious, such as a tendency to harm self or the baby, we will recommend hospitalization and may even require temporary deprivation of custody until the mother's condition is stable." Deprivation of custody. These 4 words were like a needle piercing my temple. "What are the circumstances under which custody rights are taken away?" I asked, trying to sound just curious. Usually the mother has serious self-injury behavior, or has made it clear that she wants to harm the baby. If the family applies, the court will appoint a psychological evaluation and then make a decision. Of course, this process requires evidence and cannot be just talked about. I nodded, said thank you, and left the clinic. As I drove back, I kept thinking, if Ryan and Daniel's plan really was to give me postpartum depression, what did they need? They need a persuasive reason, one that makes sense to both the court and society. And who is most likely to provide this evidence? My husband. The perfect husband who accompanies me to prenatal checkups every day, decorates the baby room with his own hands, and transfers company shares to me. Every good thing he does will become ammunition to prove my unstable mental state in the future. My hands on the steering wheel started to sweat. When I got home, I found Sophie coming. She was sitting on the sofa in the living room, wearing a cream-colored cashmere sweater, her hair tied into a low ponytail, and her makeup exquisite. When she saw me, she immediately stood up and opened her arms. Honey, where have you been? You didn't even answer my call. I went to the supermarket. I shook the shopping bag I bought casually in my hand. She hugged me and her perfume smelled very strong. I used to think this smell was very warm, now I just want to hold my breath. I came to see you. I heard that you have been suffering from severe morning sickness recently. She pulled me to sit down, her tone full of concern. It was the same when I was pregnant, and Daniel was almost going crazy because of my tossing. By the way, I brought you vitamins for pregnant women today, and they are very effective. She took out a bottle of vitamins from her bag and placed it on the coffee table. Thank you, Sophie, I said. Why are you being polite to me? She smiled, then lowered her voice. Let me tell you, Ryan has been particularly nervous about you recently and asks me about you every day. He also asked me last night, how are you feeling recently? Are you unhappy or anything like that? My heart skipped a beat. He asked you? Yes, he said that you seem to be a little worried recently, and he is afraid that you will be stressed. I told him that you might have hormone changes during pregnancy and asked him to be more considerate of you. Sophie patted my hand and said, look how good he is to you. Let me tell you, Ryan is the person who loves you the most in the world, so you have to cherish him. The person who loves you most in the world. Daniel also said this last night. Here's what he said, Emily is the perfect vehicle. I looked down at Sophie's hand on mine. Her fingers are slender, her nails are painted light pink, and she wears a 3-carat diamond ring given by Daniel on her ring finger. Her hands were warm, but I just felt like the hairs on my hair were standing on end. Sophie, I raised my head and looked into her eyes. How are you and Daniel doing? It's pretty good. She answered too quickly. He is busy with a big case recently and often works overtime, but he stays with me on weekends. What's wrong? Nothing, just asking. She stared at me for 2 seconds and then smiled. Did you become sentimental after becoming pregnant? Don't worry, we're all fine. Your marriage is doing great too. With a baby in your belly and a man who loves you by your side, you are the happiest person in the world. When she said this, there was something in her eyes that I had never noticed before. It's not warmth, it's not concern, it's obsession. Like she had to convince me of this, like if I didn't believe it, her whole world would collapse. I later learned that her world would indeed collapse. But that's because she no longer has her own world. Ryan came home early that night. He brought a bouquet of flowers, which were my favorite white hydrangeas. He made dinner, pasta with grilled salmon, and opened a bottle of non-alcoholic sparkling wine. He sat opposite me and watched me eat, his eyes full of tenderness. Is it delicious? I went to see the share transfer document today and I can sign it next week. After signing, you will become an official shareholder, and you will have a say in the company's future decisions. Ryan, I put down my fork. Why are you giving me shares? He froze for a moment, then smiled. I said it because I care about you. But you never mentioned it. We have been married for 3 years and you have never said that you would give me your shares. His smile froze for a moment, just a moment, and then he put down his glass and looked at me seriously. Emily, did you hear something? Or did someone say something to you? No, I'm just curious. He was silent for a moment, then came around to the chair on my side, sat down, and held my hand. I know I've been very busy with work recently and may have neglected you. But you have to know that everything I do is for this family. The company is now valued at $200 million, and 15% of the shares is not a small amount. I give it to you to let you know how serious I am. Seriously what? Take our marriage seriously, take our children seriously. When he said our children, his tone was so natural and sincere. But if I am really just a vehicle, then what is this child to him? A tool? A legally obtainable offspring? I understand. said, took my hand back and continued eating noodles. He looked at me for a moment, then stood up and returned to his seat. He kept talking throughout the dinner, talking about the company, the decoration of the baby's room, and where we would take the baby on vacation in the future. I listened, nodded, smiled, and occasionally said There is only one sentence in my mind, carrier. You are the perfect vehicle. When I went to work the next day, I was completely out of sorts. I work as a senior analyst at Morgan Stanley. My daily job is to read reports, build models, and make forecasts. My boss, Mark Thompson, is a bald man in his 50s. He has always been very satisfied with my work, but today he stood at my desk for 10 seconds without me noticing. Emily? Sorry. I looked up. Are you okay? He doesn't look good. It's okay, it may be a pregnancy reaction. He nodded and said he would go back early if he was tired. I said no, I can. After he walked away, I stared at the numbers on my computer screen, but my mind was thinking about something else. Then I got an email. The sender was a name I didn't recognize, Ethan Brooks. Ethan Brooks. This name is like a stone thrown into my already uneasy lake. Ethan was my crush in college. We were in the same major, but he was 2 years ahead of me. He is that kind of genius who has good grades, is handsome, and is good at basketball. Everyone likes him. I once worked up the courage to write him a love letter, but before I could hand it over, I heard that he had a girlfriend. Later, he graduated and went to Silicon Valley, and we never contacted him again. I clicked on the email. Emily, long time no see. I'm Ethan. I've been doing some investment research recently, and I saw some of your public information, and I'd like to ask a few questions. If it's convenient, we can make an appointment to chat. Best wishes. The email seemed normal, a pleasantries from an old classmate with some professional purpose. But I noticed one detail. The email he sent was my personal email address, not the company email address. My personal email address is rarely published. How did he know it? I hesitated for a moment and then replied, of course, when? He responded quickly and made an appointment at a coffee shop in Midtown Manhattan at 3 that afternoon. At 3 o'clock, I arrived at the cafe. Ethan was already sitting inside, next to the window. He was thinner than in college, his jawline was sharper, and he wore a dark blue suit jacket and no tie. He saw me, stood up, and smiled. Emily, you're still the same. Same for you. I sat down and ordered a glass of lemonade. After a few pleasantries, he got to the point. He asked me questions about the financial data of some listed companies, and I answered them. He listened very carefully and occasionally took notes in his notebook. After about 20 minutes, the professional part of the conversation was finished. He closed his notebook and looked at me. Are you married? Well, 3 years. Congratulations. What does the other person do? He has a technology startup called Carter Technology. Ethan's expression changed. It's not a shock, it's a very subtle change, as if he already knew it and was just confirming it. Carter Technologies, he repeated. Ryan Carter? You know him? I don't know him, but I know his company. I was looking at some investment targets recently, and Carter Technology was on the list. He paused. The financial data of your husband's company is a bit interesting. My nerves immediately became tense. What do you mean? Ethan hesitated for a moment, as if considering whether to continue. Then he opened the notebook, turned to a certain page, and pushed it in front of me. Look here. Carter Technology's revenue has grown rapidly in the past 2 years, but its cash flow is negative. This is no problem in itself. Many startups are like this during the expansion period. But look here, he pointed to a few numbers. Their financing records have been 3 times, and their valuation has tripled. But I checked their product launch time and user growth curve, and these 2 data do not match up. Why can't it be right? Based on their user growth, the funding timing should be at least 6 months in advance. But they only raised funds after the product was launched, and their valuation was at least 30% higher than similar companies. This is not normal. I stared at the numbers and my mind started racing. Cash flow, timing of financing, valuation premiums, these are my areas of expertise. If what Ethan said is true, then Ryan's company is either committing financial fraud or deliberately manipulating the pace of financing. How do you have this data? I asked. I am an investor and have channels. He didn't explain in detail, but looked at me. Emily, I know this may make you uncomfortable. But as an investor and an old classmate, I want to remind you one thing. What? If there is any problem with your husband's company, you, as a shareholder, may be implicated. Especially if you have shares in your name. My hands started to get cold. How do you know I have shares in my name? Ethan was silent for a moment. I guessed. Many startup founders give shares to their spouses for tax planning or other reasons. Other reasons. The way he looked at me changed, became deeper and more serious. Emily, has something happened to you recently? I opened my mouth to say something, but nothing came out. How could I tell him? How could I tell someone I haven't seen in almost 10 years that I saw my husband and my best friend's husband together on the surveillance camera in my home? How could I tell him that I might just be the perfect vehicle? No, I said, everything's fine. He didn't ask. He just nodded and said that if you need help, you can come to him. Then he paid for the coffee and said we would talk next time. I returned to the company and sat at my desk, my mind in a mess. I turned on my computer and started checking the public information of Carter Technology. Ethan is right, there is something wrong with those numbers. The gap between revenue growth and cash flow is large, and the timing of the financing is indeed unusual. But these are just doubts, not evidence. What I need is not doubt, but evidence. That night, I made a decision. I'm going to pretend I don't know anything. I want to continue to be that happy pregnant woman, that wife who is loved by the perfect husband, that lucky woman with the best friend. I want to smile, nod, say and perform the most important show of my life in front of them. Because if I don't act, what will they do if they find out that I know? Will the plan be accelerated? Will he use more ruthless methods? Will the child be taken away from me before I am ready? I can't do it. So, I started acting. When Ryan gave me hot milk, I drank it. When he bought me flowers, I kissed him on the cheek. When he accompanied me to the prenatal checkup, I held his hand, looked at the small shadow on the ultrasound screen, and said, "Look, our baby." Every time I say "our," I feel my stomach lurch. When Sophie came to see me, I had afternoon tea with her and chatted about gossip, her growing Instagram following, and her new collaborative brand. She said that she was recently negotiating for an endorsement of maternal and infant products. If successful, she could give me a lot of products for free. I said yes, thank you. She said, "Emily, you look much better recently. Have you recovered from your morning sickness?" Much better. Let me just say, the first 3 months are the hardest. Just get over it and you'll be fine. She took a sip of tea. By the way, Ryan said you were in a good mood recently, and he was very happy. It's Ryan again. As long as he's happy, I said. You know, Ryan said something to me, and I was particularly touched. Sophie put down the teacup and looked at me seriously. He said that Emily is the most important person in his life, and without you, he is nothing. I looked at her delicately made up eyes and thought, you know that, right? You know Ryan and Daniel's relationship. You know how much this child means to them. You know you are part of the plan. But what I said was, he really said that. Really. That's why I told you. He is the person who loves you most in the world. The person who loves me the most in the world. I smiled, lowered my head, and pretended to stir the sugar in the teacup. The days passed. I carried on with my play, and at the same time began to secretly do what I had to do. I bought a voice recorder and hid it on the bookshelf in the living room. I reset my smart home system to make sure I could see all the camera feeds, but Ryan couldn't see what I was watching. I even learned how to hide files on my phone and use encryption software to protect my evidence. Every time Ryan and Daniel met, I documented it. They were careful not to see each other at home anymore, but they talked on the phone. Ryan would sometimes talk on the phone in his study, with the door closed and his voice low. But he didn't know that I installed a very small recording software in his mobile phone. I bought it online for 200 yuan. It is said that even professional testing equipment can't detect it. I heard a lot. She is in good condition recently, no doubt. This was Ryan's voice. Keep holding her steady. Once the baby is born, everything will be easier. This was Daniel's voice. Are you sure there's nothing wrong with the doctor? No problem. I have a friend who is a psychiatrist who will do an evaluation then. As soon as she shows the slightest sign of instability, we can start the process. What is unstable? A lot. Insomnia, anxiety, mood swings, being overprotective or indifferent to the baby. These can all be symptoms. Are you sure you can do it? Ryan, I have been a lawyer for more than 10 years, and I have seen many cases like this. As long as there is sufficient evidence, the court will not award a newborn to a mother with mental problems. A mother with mental problems. They were going to make me out to be a madman and take my children away from me. I turned off the recording and sat in the dark living room with my hand on my stomach. My baby is 4 months old, and I can occasionally feel slight fetal movement, like a butterfly flapping its wings. You are mine. I whispered, you are no one's commodity. But that thought kept running through my head. What if they did succeed? If the courts did decide that I was unfit to raise a child, what would happen to me? I would lose my children, I would lose my home, I would lose everything. And my perfect husband will take my children and his lover to live the life they want. With my uterus, with my genes, with my money. No. I won't let this happen. On the 5th week, Ethan contacted me again. This time it wasn't an email, it was a phone call. He said he had some further information about Carter Technology and wanted to chat in person. We met on a park bench, very close to my company. In New York in the fall, the leaves begin to turn yellow, and there are many young mothers pushing strollers in the park. I looked at them and felt an indescribable feeling in my heart. Ethan sat next to me and handed me a cup of hot chocolate. You can't drink coffee when you're pregnant. Thanks. I took the cup and touched his fingers with my fingers. His fingers were very cold. He opened a folder with several pages inside. I asked someone to check Carter Technology's financing records. Guess what I found? What? One of their investors is a client of Daniel Miller. My heart skipped a beat. Daniel Miller? Yes, a lawyer. He served as legal counsel for a family office, and that family office invested in Carter Technology's series of financing. The amount was not large, but it was enough to give Daniel a say in the company. You mean, Daniel is not only Ryan's lover, but also his investor? More than that. Ethan turned to another page. Carter Technology Series B financing involved an offshore fund. I checked the ultimate beneficiary of that fund. Guess who it is? Who? Sophie Miller. My mind goes blank. Sophie. Sophie is also an investor. She was not just an insider, she was a participant. She paid for it. She took money to make Ryan's company bigger, to make Ryan look like a successful CEO, to make Ryan more attractive, more persuasive, more able to control me. The four of them, I said slowly, are a team. What? Ethan looked at me. I took a deep breath. It's time. I need to tell Ethan. I need someone to help me. Ethan, I turned to look at him. I need you to do me a favor. A big favor. He looked at me. There was no hesitation in those gray eyes. You said. It took me about 20 minutes to tell him everything. Surveillance video, the conversation between Ryan and Daniel, the words perfect carrier, Sophie's abnormal reaction, Ryan giving me shares, Daniel's plan to make me suffer from postpartum depression. All things. After I finished speaking, Ethan was silent for about 30 seconds. He sat on the bench, holding the cup of cold coffee in his hand, looking at an old man feeding pigeons in the distance. Then he turned to look at me and said something. What are you going to do? Not are you sure? Not you should call the police. Not are you okay? It's what are you going to do about it? This is the biggest difference between Ethan and I. He doesn't question, he just acts. I want to fight back, I said, but I need evidence. More evidence. I need their complete plan. I need to know every detail, every person involved, every step. I need to get it and throw it all out when they are least prepared. Where do you want to throw it out? When they are most proud. In the most public places. When everyone is watching them. Ethan thought for a moment. Carter Technology plans to go public by the end of the year. They have a press conference that will be broadcast live to all media. If everything goes well, Ryan will become one of the brightest stars in Silicon Valley that day. If all goes well, I repeated. But if something had happened that day, Ethan said, it would have been the biggest disaster. I looked into his eyes. Can you help me get the system permissions for the press conference? He smiled. It was a smile I had never seen on his face before, with a little danger, a little excitement, and a little tenderness. Emily, he said, what do you think I have been doing all these years? I have invested in at least 20 technology companies, 3 of which are engaged in network security and system integration. It is not difficult to get permission for a press conference for you. Then what do you want in return? He looked at me for a long time. I don't want anything, he said. In week 6, things started to accelerate. Ryan is becoming more and more perfect. He would send me text messages every day, asking me how I felt today, whether I had eaten well, and whether I had slept well. He hired a professional pregnancy and childbirth coach to come to his home twice a week and teach me some gentle exercises. He even hired a nutritionist to customize a pregnancy diet just for me. Every action, taken alone, is love, but taken together, they are just a network. I ate according to the recipes, exercised according to the coach's instructions, smiled, acted coquettishly, and said thank you in front of Ryan. Every night when he comes back, I sit in the living room waiting for him. When I see him come in, I stand up and give him a hug. How was your day? I asked. Very good. The press conference is basically set, December 15th, at Lincoln Center. Congratulations. Thank you, baby. He kissed my forehead. This is all because of you. Without you, I can't do anything. I was in his arms, listening to his heartbeat, and thinking, is your heartbeat real? Is your temperature real? Of every word you said to me, which one is true? One night, while Ryan was in the shower, his cell phone rang. It is a number without a note. I hesitated for a second, then picked it up and took it. Ryan, was Daniel's voice. He's not here, I said. There was silence on the other end of the phone for about 3 seconds. Emily? Are you Daniel? Sophie's husband? Yes, it's me. His voice immediately became normal, with the calmness and gentleness unique to a lawyer. I'm talking to Ryan about some work matters. Is he busy? He's taking a shower. Why don't you call me later? Okay, it's okay. By the way, Emily, how are you doing? Sophie says your morning sickness is much better. Much better. That's good. Take good care of yourself and don't be too tired. Thank you, Daniel. You're welcome. By the way, He paused. Emily, do you feel that Ryan is under a lot of pressure recently? Well enough. What's wrong? It's nothing, it's just that the company is about to go public, so he may be a little nervous. Please be considerate of him. I will. After hanging up the phone, I stared at the phone screen for a long time. Daniel's voice was as natural and gentle as if he were speaking to a jury in court. Every word is carefully chosen, every pause calculated. He is a lawyer and he knows how to speak to make others trust him. And I used to trust him. I put the phone back and walked into the bathroom. Ryan just came out of the shower, with wet hair and a towel wrapped around his waist. He saw me and smiled. What's wrong? Your cell phone rang, and it was Daniel. I picked it up for you, and he said he wanted to talk to you about work. Oh, okay. He picked up the phone, walked to the balcony and closed the door. I stood at the bathroom door and looked at his back as he was talking on the phone on the balcony. The glass door was closed, so I couldn't hear clearly what he was saying, but I saw his shoulders relax, as if he had put down something. On week 7, Ethan gave me a new recording. This time it wasn't from Ryan's phone, it was from Daniel's phone. Ethan found a friend who worked in network security and hacked into Daniel's cloud backup. I don't know how he did it, and I don't want to ask. In the recording, Daniel was talking to someone. That person wasn't Ryan, it was Sophie. Are you sure she can handle it? Daniel asked. She can do it. Emily is not the kind of person who breaks down easily. Sophie's voice said, and she trusts Ryan so much that she won't doubt it. But we can't take any chances. After she gives birth, we have to act as soon as possible. I have contacted the psychiatrist, who will come to evaluate her on the 3rd day after delivery. Evaluate what? Assess her mental state. We'll ask Ryan to provide some evidence of her emotional instability, such as insomnia, anxiety, overprotectiveness of the baby, etc. The doctor will make a determination based on this evidence and we will then be able to apply for temporary guardianship. What happens after temporary custody? Then there's the formal custody change. The court would not award the newborn to her as long as she showed any signs of instability. Then what should she do? What will happen to her? Daniel's voice became colder. She will go to therapy, take medicine, and see a psychiatrist. In severe cases, hospitalization may occur. But these are not our problems anymore. Daniel, Sophie's voice was a little hesitant. Are you sure you want to do this? She is my friend after all. Sophie, Daniel's tone changed, becoming stern. Do you remember why we did this? Do you remember what you promised me? Silence. I remember. Sophie's voice was small. Then don't be soft-hearted. This is for our future. Think about it, if we can get that child, we can. The recording stops here. I listened to it 3 times. Each time, I felt something explode in my chest, then close again, then explode again in another place. Our future. That child is their future. Not mine. I turned off the recording and closed my eyes. Put your hands on your belly. The baby was moving, more obviously than before, like a small fist pushing against my belly. Are you listening? I whispered, Mom will not let you leave me. On the 8th week, I met the guy Ethan introduced me to. His name is Dave Chen, a systems engineer who looks like an ordinary college student wearing a hoodie and carrying a backpack. But in fact he is the chief technology officer of the cybersecurity company where Ethan invested. We met at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. It was very remote and there was no one there. Dave pulled out his laptop and showed me a system architecture diagram of Lincoln Center. The system for the press conference was outsourced to an event company, and their security protection is average. Dave pointed to the screen. Here, and here are all loopholes. I can access it remotely, but someone needs to make a physical connection on site. How? On the day of the press conference, you need to find someone to plug a small device into the USB port of the main console. After plugging it in, I can take over the entire system from the outside. Who? Anyone. Staff, guests, even he glanced at my belly. You. I can, I said, I'm the CEO's wife, I can get anywhere. Dave glanced at Ethan, who nodded. Okay, Dave said, I'll prepare the equipment for you and teach you how to use it. It's very simple, just plug it in. I nodded. On the way back, Ethan drove me. The car was quiet except for the hum of the heater. I looked out the window at the night view of New York. The lights were like stars, but colder than them. Are you scared? Ethan asked. Not afraid. I said. Really? I was silent for a while. My fear is that if I do something wrong, my child will become theirs. Ethan said nothing. He parked his car at an intersection near my house and did not drive in for fear of being seen. He turned and looked at me. Emily, I've known you for almost 10 years. You're the smartest, calmest person I've ever met. You can do no wrong. I looked into his eyes. Under the light of the street lamp, his eyes looked deep and warm. I remember when I was in college, I hid in the corner of the library and secretly watched him play on the basketball court. At that time I thought I would never have the courage to stand in front of him. Now, here I was, sitting in his car, pregnant with another man's child, ready to destroy everything for that man. Thank you, Ethan, I said. You're welcome. I got out of the car and walked into the night. After walking a few steps, I turned around and saw that he was still parked at the intersection with his headlights on. I waved and he waved back. Then I turned around and walked home. Ryan was waiting for me in the living room. When he saw me coming in, he stood up and came over to help me take off my coat. Where are you going? It's so late. Having dinner with my colleagues. It's too late to work overtime, so I just had something to eat. Tell me next time, I'm worried about you. Okay. He helped me take off my coat and hung it on the hanger. Then he held my shoulders and looked down at me. Emily, he said, do you know how much I love you? I raised my head and looked into his blue eyes. There was light in those eyes, there was my reflection, and there was deep affection that looked extremely real. I know. I said. Then I stood up on my tiptoes and kissed his lips. His lips were warm. My heart is cold. In the 9th week, things took a turn that I didn't expect. Sophie made an appointment with me for a prenatal checkup. She said her obstetrician was the best in New York and asked me to go there too. I was about to say no, but then I thought it might help if I knew what they were planning. So I agreed. On the day of my prenatal checkup, Sophie drove up to pick me up. She was wearing a loose dress and seemed to be in a good mood. The stereo in the car played pop music, and she hummed along, turning to look at me from time to time. You're a lot bigger. Well, 5 months. Is the baby moving? Moving. What does it feel like? Flying like a butterfly. She smiled. That's great. I've thought about what it would be like if I had kids. I've thought about it before. I glanced at her. Does Daniel know that you are infertile? The air in the car suddenly solidified. Sophie's hands froze on the steering wheel for a second, then she returned to normal. How do you know? You mentioned it before, one time when we were drinking. You may have forgotten. She was silent for a while. Yes, Daniel knows. He doesn't care. Don't care. Does a man really not care if his wife is infertile? Or is it that he already had other plans, so he didn't care at all? I lowered my head and looked at my belly. The baby is moving, not as a butterfly flying this time, but as a series of small drum beats. Sophie, I said, have you ever thought about adoption? I thought about it. But Daniel said he wanted someone related by blood. What should we do? As medicine develops, there will always be a way. Her voice was very soft, as if she was convincing herself. There is always a way. For example, let your best friend be the carrier. I said no more. After the prenatal checkup, Sophie sent me home. She hugged me at the door and said, Emily, you should be happy. You have a baby in your belly, you have Ryan, you have everything. I know. I said. After she left, I stood at the door and watched her car disappear around the corner. I suddenly felt that she was also a victim. She loves Daniel so much that she is willing to do anything for him, including designing her own bestie. But she didn't know that she was just a pawn in Daniel's plan. Her money, her social network, her influence are all tools. Will Daniel still need her after he gets the baby? I'm not sure. But I know one thing, if I do nothing, my kids will become their trophies. And I will become a lunatic diagnosed with postpartum depression, sent to the hospital, and deprived of everything. In the 10th week, I got the most critical recording. This recording comes from Daniel's office. Ethan's friend placed a tiny bug, about the size of a grain of rice, on his conference table. In the recording, Daniel was talking to someone. It wasn't Ryan, it wasn't Sophie, it was a voice I had never heard before. Are you sure she won't find out? The voice asked. No. She is 5 months pregnant, emotionally stable, and has no doubts. Ryan is doing great. What about the postpartum period? We have a psychiatrist who will evaluate her on the 3rd day after delivery. At that time, Ryan will provide some evidence that she is emotionally unstable, such as getting up in the middle of the night and crying while holding the baby, or saying some strange things. This evidence is enough. What if she resists? She won't resist. A woman who has just given birth has no job, no source of income, and her husband wants to divorce her. What else can she do? What about the money? Her trust fund is about $2 million. Including the shares in her name, the total is about $5 million. We will get it back through legal channels. After all, a mentally unstable mother is not suitable for managing assets. What about the child? The child would be awarded to the father. Then the father would remarry and the child would have a new mother. Who is the new mother? Silence. You don't need to know. The recording ends here. After listening to it, my whole body was shaking. Not because of fear, but because of anger. A kind of anger that I have never felt before, seeping from the bones. Not only were they going to take my children away, they were going to take my money away, they were going to take my reputation away. They want me to become a madman with nothing, and then live my life with peace of mind. No. I don't allow it. I picked up my phone and sent Ethan a message, ready. December 15th, he replied instantly, Roger it. On the 11th week, Ryan became gentler than before. He massaged my feet every night because my feet were starting to get swollen. He would chat with me while pressing the button, talking about the company's launch conference, saying that we would take the baby to Hawaii for vacation in the future, and that he would teach the child to play basketball when he grows up. I lay next to him, eyes closed, enjoying his massage. My feet were comfortable, but my heart ached. Ryan, I said softly, will you ever leave me? He stopped. Why do you think so? Just asking. Many men cheat on their wives when they are pregnant. He leaned down and kissed my forehead. I won't. I will never leave you. You are my everything. You are my everything. This sentence, if it were true, would be great. I opened my eyes and looked at him. I will never leave you either. This sentence is also false. December 15th is finally here. The press conference is set for 7 p.m. in Lincoln Center's Alice Tully Room, West 63rd Street, Lincoln Center Plaza, Manhattan. This is a concert hall that can accommodate more than 1,000 people, but tonight, it was transformed into a technology conference venue. I wore a black maternity dress that Sophie had chosen for me. She said black looks slimming and looks good in photos. I put on light makeup and put my hair up to look like a proper CEO wife. Ryan wore a custom-made dark blue suit and silver gray tie. He stood in front of the mirror for a long time, adjusting the position of his tie and checking every detail. Then he turned and looked at me. Are you ready? Ready. He came over and held my hand. After tonight, nothing will be the same. What do you mean? He smiled. After the company goes public, we will have more money. I can give you a better life and give your baby a better future. You've given me enough. Not enough. He kissed my cheek. You deserve more. I deserve more. You can't give me more than that. We took the bus to Lincoln Center. Along the way, Ryan was on the phone, confirming every detail of the press conference with the team. I sat next to him, looking out the window at the lights flying by, my hands on my stomach. The baby is moving and very active, as if he is celebrating something in advance. After arriving at the venue, everything went smoothly. The staff took us to the VIP lounge, where Sophie and Daniel had already arrived. Sophie wore a red dress, which was stunning. Daniel was wearing a black suit and looked calm and reliable. Emily. Sophie came over and hugged me. You look so beautiful today. You too. She took my arm and led me to sit on the sofa in the lounge. Are you nervous? Kind of. Don't be nervous. Tonight is Ryan's night, and it's also your night. She lowered her voice. I'm telling you, there will be a surprise after the press conference. Don't tell Ryan that I told you. What surprise? I can't say. Anyway, just wait. Surprise. I smiled and didn't ask any further questions. At 7 o'clock sharp, the press conference began. Ryan walked onto the stage and the lights dimmed, leaving only a beam of light shining on him. He stood in the center of the stage, looking so confident and dazzling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Carter Technologies press conference. The audience burst into applause. I sat in the front row next to Sophie and Daniel. Sophie held my hand, her hand was warm. Daniel sat next to Sophie, his expression calm, but I knew he was looking at Ryan on stage. There was something in his eyes that I had never noticed before. It wasn't appreciation, it wasn't pride, it was a kind of possession. Today, I want to announce an important news to you. Carter technology will be officially launched in January next year. Applause broke out again. Ryan started to tell the story of the company, how he started his business as a college student and got to where he is today step by step. He spoke passionately, with a genuine excitement in his voice. The investors, media people, and elites in the technology circle in the audience were all infected by him. I sat in the audience and watched him shine on the stage. I remembered that when we first met, he was like this, standing in the middle of the crowd, shining. At that time I thought I had met the person I was destined to be. Now I know that it was not fate, it was careful design. After Ryan finished speaking, the company's promotional video began to play on the big screen. The pictures are beautiful, with product demonstrations, user interviews, and team photos. Everything is perfect. Then, the screen suddenly freezes. Only 1 second. Then, a completely different picture appeared on the big screen. It's a surveillance video from my bedroom. Ryan and Daniel were lying on the bed. Ryan's shirt was unbuttoned and Daniel's hand was on his chest. The whole place was quiet. The concert hall with more than 1,000 people was as quiet as if there was no one there. Then the voice came out. When the baby is born, we can start our family. I know. It's almost 6 months away. Emily is such a perfect vehicle. The whole place was in an uproar. I heard someone behind me gasp, someone whisper, "Oh my God," someone start taking out their phone to take pictures. Ryan froze on the stage. He turned around and looked at the big screen, his face turning pale. Screen switching. Second video. Daniel's voice, "After she gives birth, we have to act as soon as possible. I have contacted a psychiatrist who will come for an evaluation on the 3rd day postpartum. Assess her mental state. We'll let Ryan provide some evidence of her emotional instability." Screen switching. The third recording. Sophie's voice, "Are you sure you want to do this? She is my friend after all." Daniel's voice, "This is for our future." The whole place was completely blown away. I heard people yelling, "What is this?" Someone yelling, "Turn it off." Someone yelling, "Oh my God, that's Daniel Miller." Ryan on stage turned around and shouted backstage, "Shut it down. Turn it off." But the scene continues. Paragraph 4. Daniel's conversation with an unfamiliar voice. "What about the child?" "The child will be awarded to the father. Then the father would remarry and the child would have a new mother." "Who is the new mother?" "You don't need to know." The whole place was quiet again. Then Daniel stood up. He moved slowly, as if he was drunk. He stood next to his seat, staring at the big screen, the expression on his face going from shock to anger, and then from anger to something borderline crazy that I had never seen before. He turned around and looked at Ryan on the stage. "What the hell did you do?" Ryan stood on the stage, his lip trembling. "I don't know." "Who are you if it's not you? Only you have permission." "I really don't know. You don't know." Daniel started walking towards the stage, his pace was very fast. Daniel chased him behind, shouting, "Daniel, don't do this." But Daniel threw her hand away. He rushed onto the stage and grabbed Ryan by the collar. "You fucking betrayed me?" His voice echoed in the microphone, as sharp as breaking glass. "Daniel, I didn't." "You have. You've been lying to me. You said we would be together, you said we would have a family. But what about you? You fucking found that woman and got her pregnant. What do you think I am?" The whole place was completely out of control. Some people are on the phone, some are recording, and some are running towards the stage. Security began rushing onto the stage, trying to pull Daniel away. But Daniel didn't stop. He clutched Ryan's collar tightly and his voice became louder and louder. "Do you know why I'm with you? You are just my replacement." This sentence was like a bomb. Ryan was stunned. "What did you say?" Daniel smiled. That's the smile I've seen in court, when a witness gives evidence in his favor. But this time, the smile was twisted and crazy. "You think I really love you? Do you think you are special?" "No, Ryan. You are not. You never were." "Then why did you dash?" "Because of Ethan." Daniel's voice almost screamed, "Ethan Brooks. He is the one I want to be with. But he doesn't want me. He chose to leave, chose to go to Silicon Valley, and chose to forget me. And you dash," he pointed at Ryan's face, "you look like him. Your eyes, your chin, your voice, they all look like him. So I chose you. I make you my replacement." Ryan was completely devastated on stage. His knees were bent, and he was kneeling on the stage. Daniel's hand was still holding his collar. "You lied to me." Ryan's voice was very soft, but the microphone still captured it. "You've been lying to me." "Lied to you?" Daniel let go of his hand and took a step back. "Do you think you didn't lie to me? You lied to your wife, you lied to your friends, you lied to everyone. What qualifications do you have to say that I lied to you?" The whole place was quiet again. I looked at the two men on the stage, one kneeling and the other standing. They had been lovers, allies, and accomplices. But now they are tearing each other apart in front of the whole world, bringing out the ugliest sides of each other. Sophie sat motionless in her seat. Her face and lips were white, and her soul seemed to have been sucked out of her whole body. I looked at her and suddenly felt that she was very pitiful. She loved Daniel and had for so many years. She did so many things for him, including designing her best friend, including investing money in Ryan's company, including testing me during prenatal checkups. But she didn't know that in Daniel's heart, she was nothing. She was just a tool to help him keep the substitute around. I stood up and walked to her. Sophie. She raised her head and looked into my eyes. There were no tears in those eyes, just a huge, empty blankness. You know that, right? I said, you know Daniel and Ryan's relationship. You know what this kid means to them. You know you're part of the plan. She opened her mouth but said nothing. You know, I continued, but you did it anyway. Because you loved him. You loved someone so much that you would do anything for them, including ruining your best friend's life. Her lips began to tremble. But have you ever thought, I knelt down and looked at her level, that he doesn't love you at all? You are just his money bag, his social tool, and his accomplice. Will he still need you after he gets the child? Stop talking. Her voice was very small. He won't. He will find someone new, someone who can help him raise his children. And you will be thrown away. Just like you helped him throw me away. Stop talking. She stood up suddenly and the chair fell to the ground with a loud noise. All eyes turned to us. I looked into her eyes, eyes that were once filled with warmth and care, now filled with only fear and despair. You know, Sophie? I said, I used to really consider you my best friend. Then I turned around and left the venue. When I walked outside, the cold wind hit my face. The square at Lincoln Center is brightly lit, and the fountains shine silver in the night. I stood on the steps and took a deep breath. The cold air filled my lungs and made my mind clearer. The phone rang. It's Ethan. Are you out? Yeah. I'm on the west side of the square, silver car. I walked over and saw his car. I opened the car door and got in. It was warm in the car, with the heater on full blast. Ethan looked at me. Are you okay? It's okay. You did it. Yeah. He was silent for about 10 seconds and then started the car. Take you home? Okay. The car drove out of Lincoln Center and into the Manhattan night. I leaned back in my seat and put my hand on my stomach. The baby was moving, more active than ever, as if he knew it was over. Ethan, I said. Huh? Do you know Daniel? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. We know each other. He said you were the one he wanted to be with. Silence. We were together when we were in college. Ethan's voice was calm. It was very short, about 3 months. Later I found that he wasn't right. He was too extreme and too controlling. I broke up with him and went to California. And then he went to Ryan? Probably. Ryan and I do look a bit alike. He smiled bitterly, at least the height and hair color are similar. Why didn't you tell me? I don't know how to say it. And I think the less you know the better. I looked at him, at the side of his face. Under the light of the street lamp, his jawline was sharp, just like it was in college. Ethan, I said, will you ever believe in love again? He didn't answer. The car stopped in front of my house. I unbuckled my seatbelt and was about to get out of the car when he spoke. Emily. He turned and looked at me. His eyes looked bright in the dim light of the dashboard. I've thought about this. I thought about it for a long time. My answer is, I don't know, he said. I looked at him. But I know one thing, he continued, I believe you. I laughed. It's not a relieved smile, not a moved smile, just a very light smile that doesn't require any reason. Thank you, Ethan. I got out of the car and walked into my house. The lights in the house were still on, having been turned on before Ryan left. On the coffee table in the living room is the cup he gave me to warm milk in the morning. There is still a little milk in it, but it is already cold. The home clothes he had changed out of were thrown on the sofa, and the TV was still on, showing a boring reality show. I turned off the TV, took the cup to the kitchen, washed it, and put it back in the cupboard. Then I walked upstairs and into the bedroom. The bed was neatly made, and the pillow still smelled of Ryan's shampoo. I stood by the bed and looked at the bed. The bed I slept in for 3 years and thought I would sleep in for the rest of my life. The bed on which I saw 2 men cuddling together. I pulled back the quilt and lay down. The sheets were cold, but my body was warm. I put my hand on my belly and felt the baby's movements. You're not theirs, I whispered, you're mine. Outside the window, there are no stars in the New York night sky, only city lights. Those lights passed through the gaps in the curtains and cast yellowish spots on the ceiling. I looked at those light spots and thought of many things. I remember the first time I met Ryan in college, the cup of coffee he handed me, and the first words he said. I remember the hug Sophie gave me at the wedding, and her words, "You will be happy." Thinking of Daniel grilling steaks at a barbecue party, remembering him saying, "Emily, you deserve the best." Those words, those moments, those things I thought were true are now in pieces. It shattered into spots of light on the ceiling, into the sound of wind outside the window, and into every heartbeat of the little life in my belly. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll be able to raise my kids alone. I don't know if I'll meet new people. I don't know if I'll be able to trust anyone. But I know one thing. I held my child in my arms, looking at the spots of light on the ceiling in the darkness at 3 o'clock in the morning in New York in the winter, and smiled. Not relief. The answer is no longer needed. 3 months later, I rented a small house in a small town in upstate New York. The house is not big, but it has a big yard with an apple tree. The doctor said it would be good for the child to breathe more fresh air, so I pushed the stroller around the yard several times every day. The daughter's name is Grace. Grace Carter. She will take her father's last name, but I plan to change her last name back to mine when she is older. Grace Carter sounds like the daughter of a tech CEO, but Grace Carter sounds like the daughter of an independent woman. Ryan's company went bankrupt. After the press conference, all investors withdrew their capital, the stock price fell to zero, and the company went bankrupt within a month. He now lives in a small town in Connecticut. It is said that he works as a programmer in a small company, and his monthly salary is only a fraction of what he used to do. His lawyer was helping him with the divorce. I hired a good lawyer and got back all the assets and custody of the children. Daniel was disbarred. His law firm fired him after the incident, and his wife, Sophie, divorced him. What he is doing now, I don't know and I don't want to know. Sophie moved to the West Coast. She posted a long post on Instagram admitting her involvement and then canceled her account. 500,000 fans dropped to zero overnight. Someone saw her in a supermarket in Los Angeles and said she looked much older, without makeup or dressing up, like an ordinary, tired woman. I think of her sometimes. I remember when we were in college, we stayed up late studying together, complained about professors together, and went to Central Park for picnics. At that time, she laughed loudly and sincerely, like an ordinary girl with no worries. I don't know when she started to change. Maybe after meeting Daniel, maybe after she found out she was infertile, maybe earlier. But I know that when she chose to be part of that plan, she wasn't the Sophie I knew. Ethan comes to see me occasionally. He lives in Manhattan and it takes more than an hour to drive there. He brings something every time he comes. Sometimes it's baby clothes, sometimes it's fruit, sometimes it's soup he makes himself. He was terrible at making soup, but he always said this time is better than last time. One day he came to see me, sitting on the couch in the living room with Grace in his arms. Grace liked him very much. Every time he hugged her, she would smile, showing her pre-teething gums. "She looks like you," he said. "Really?" "I think she looks like herself." He smiled. "That's right." We were silent for a while. The sunshine outside the window is very good, and the shadow of the apple tree is reflected on the floor, like a painting. "Emily," he said, "will you ever believe in love again?" I looked at him. He was sitting on my couch with my daughter in his arms, the sun shining in his hair, and he looked much younger than his actual age. I looked down at Grace. She fell asleep in Ethan's arms, with her little fists clenched, her mouth slightly open, and her breathing light and even. "I don't know," I said. Then I laughed. Not relief. The answer is no longer needed.